Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. As Pope Leo XIV begins a high-profile tour of Africa, the transatlantic clash is intensifying with U.S. President Donald Trump, who has publicly attacked the pontiff while amplifying religious imagery in his political messaging. Now, the dispute spanning war, migration, and the moral authority of the Church is now reverberating across Europe and within the Catholic community. Now, with us now to discuss the latest is Michał Kłosowski, journalist and author, Catholic Voices. Welcome to the program.
Hello, and thanks for having me.
So let's begin with this trip. I mean, it's quite intense. It's over the span of many days, 4 different countries. Tell us what the significance of this trip is for the Church and for the Pope.
Well, it's going to be a long trip. That's for sure. You know, the Pope will be visiting Algeria, Cameroon, Angola, and Equatorial Guinea. But the most important part for me is obviously the first one, Algeria. You know, because when the Pope was flying back from Beirut, he said to journalists in the plane that that's his dream to start a new year of his pontificate with this pilgrimage to the site of St. Augustine, because we all knew that the Pope is Augustinian. He's American born, but he's Augustinian. So that's why I would say that the current event, because the Pope is already there in Algeria, is more than relevant, not only for the global Catholic Church, but also for Cardinal Robert Prevost personally, because that was his dream to visit the site of St. Augustine, and also to remember the Catholic Church and the whole global community that Africa is not a periphery of the Church, but it was and now is a center of the Church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1/5 of the global Catholics in Africa. You said he's Augustinian, but he's also American, as you said. So I want to ask about another American who has a big problem right now with the Pope. I mean, President Trump has very much made it very personal. I mean, this came because of criticism, has escalated very quickly. Where are we right now? What kind of impact will this have, not just on Catholics in America, but globally and also here in Central Europe?
Well, you know, first of all, President Donald Trump, I think that deleted the image he posted on Truth Social with him as a Jesus with the whole background AI generated. So that's a sign, definitely. And even if President Trump was trying to make it personal, it wasn't personal, in fact, because, of course, he stated that, President Trump, Pope Leo is weak, he is in favor with Iranian government, etc., which wasn't true. That's for the record. But the Pope made it clear, because he said that he won't be responding for such an insult, because he really knows how social media works. You know, Pope Leo is the first Pope who was using Twitter and X by himself before becoming a Pope, as Cardinal Robert Prevost. And you know, there is a very famous in the Catholic world kind of like disagreement between Cardinal Robert Prevost and Vice President J.D. Vance about the hierarchy of love. It was about migration, about the social teaching, etc., etc. And Cardinal Robert Prevost was very clear. There was 2 or 3 years ago on Twitter, pointing all the mistakes that J.D. Vance made on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you said, okay, back to the image, it was taken down. But at the same time, this is something that has quite an impact nevertheless. And question not, why did he take it down? I mean, if we look at that image, right, it was him as Christ. And what further as well, I think Trump has said very much, I'm quoting here, if I wasn't in the White House, Leo wouldn't be in the Vatican. Now, to a Catholic, I mean, that's quite serious stuff. We've had criticism also from the Polish authorities. I think if we look at the President's office, the National Security Bureau, Mr. Sienkiewicz, I'm quoting here as well, very much what President Trump said regarding Pope Leo XIV goes beyond all norms and constitute an insult to the Vicar of Christ and therefore to all Catholics. So what does this mean then? The impact of what he's said, the image which he's uploaded and taken down, how damaging is that to Catholics?
Well, I would say that the image was taken down because the criticism which came from many different, parts of the world. It was also Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni who criticized this kind of message posted by President Donald Trump on Truth Social, but also, and that's, I would say, is kind of important because kind of Timothy Ratcliffe, who was also there in the Vatican when the Pope Leo was elected as a Pope, said, I'm quoting, it's frankly absurd imposing that Trump has anything to do with choosing Pope, Cardinal Robert Prevost as a Pope. You know, it was delayed, but the kind of like criticism is still there, you know. People are not afraid of criticizing President Donald Trump, acting like that. And also, I'm kind of sure that when he was trying to explain what was in the picture, saying that he was doctored, not that Jesus Christ, etc., he understood what he done, okay? Because the criticism came not only from the Catholic Church, not only from the Catholics, but also you need to remember that Jesus is a very important person also for Muslims, for example, for Protestants, which who are, I mean, Protestants they are the core of the MAGA movement. Okay, so he definitely crossed the line. What's going to be in the future with that? We don't know, but the way how he communicates in the social media, I mean, President Donald Trump, is more and more unpredictable.
Mm-hmm. You said he crossed certain lines, not just for Catholics, but also for Christians in general. In your mind, if we can try to understand for a moment what goes on in his mind, why this criticism now? Why is so much directed now at Leo? Was this a political thing? Was this emotional? Was it both? Is there something else behind it? How do you understand it?
You know, like 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, Pope Leo posted 3 very strong tweets, X messages, saying that peace is kind of like a gift between the people, and he posted it without mentioning anyone. Okay, it was very, very strong message by Pope Leo, posted on X. It was just in English and Italian because the Pope's profile is in 10 or 11 different languages, but this one was just in English and Italian. At least I saw it in those languages, and it was very strong, like saying that those who are against the peace, etc., they're against the gospel. And it moved a lot of people on X, but not only on X, okay? Then we had the Vigil of Peace in the Vatican, the prayer of peace, which was widely shared around the world, in Spain, in Poland as well, in the US, France, etc., etc. So I would say that the message of President Donald Trump was kind of like an answer for this Pope's actions, because the Pope Leo is actively working for peace. You know, Iranian ambassador 2 or 3 days ago thanked the Pope Leo for, you know, not letting the world, President Donald Trump, to vanish the whole civilization. Mm-hmm. And it was Iranian ambassador to the Holy See who thanked the Pope. Can you imagine it? Like few months ago, it would be even impossible to imagine. And I would say that what President Donald Trump posted very personally, but as I said, for me, it's not a personal conflict, and Pope Leo stated it very well, was kind of like an answer for those very active and positive actions of the Vatican and the Pope, trying to, you know, share the message of peace around the world.
Mm-hmm. At the same time, if we're looking at the kind of people around, we mentioned this already with the MAGA movement around Donald Trump, President Trump, he very much, and this ties into what Americans also do, this conservative movement, this just large extent, very intense Protestant movement to some extent here. How much has that potentially influenced President Trump's decision in all of this? I mean, he used them as allies, but is he listening to certain factors? Are we reading too much into that? How do you take those around him with what he's done?
Again, it's not personal. It's not about people who are around him, but about the ideas are circulating around President Donald Trump. And the ideas are kind of dangerous, you know, because those ideas are more like, how can we use religion as a political tool? You know, you have Peter Thiel, the one who invented a lot of things in Silicon Valley, who was in the Vatican 2 or 3 weeks ago, giving a speech without permission of no one. No, neither the Pope, neither any cardinal, no one invited him. But he gave a speech for a very small circle of people about the technology, AI, and how can it be used as a tool also for religious communities. And that's the threat in here, because this circle, MAGA movement, and people who supporting the MAGA movement, President Donald Trump, are trying to use religion, Catholicism, Protestant religion, every kind of religion, as a political tool and a tool of identification, political identification, to impose kind of like a conflict against the others taken sociologically. So it's not about the people, but that's true. There is a lot of, you know, religious people around President Donald Trump, but about ideas that are circulating in this environment, and those ideas are very dangerous, because the ideas are about using religion and faith as a political tool to win next election.
And that is also something that the far right has done. And I'm just curious, you mentioned Giorgia Meloni of Italy, also very much, I think, one of the first criticisms on Monday directly to President Trump, also here saying, her quote, "I find President Trump's remarks about the Holy Father unacceptable." So that means something, because the far right have touted the connection with the church. Is that relationship now changing? Has Donald Trump miscalculated that?
Well, you need to remember that the religious landscape in the US is totally different than the one in Europe.
True,
okay?
but they still go on this idea of very strong links to family, civilization, church, etc. So is that link now affected by this?
It's different, okay? Because what Giorgia Meloni does was, she's Catholic. She is Catholic, and being Catholic means to be a part of global apostolic church, which is under the Pope. Okay, and that's super important to understand the whole situation. President Donald Trump is not Catholic, and his background in the political environment is not Catholic as well. There are Protestants who are not under the Pope, under governor of Pope. And what Giorgia Meloni does was very significant, of course, and we saw it like from few months, because also when Cardinal Pizzaballa was stopped of praying in the Holy See, she done the same. She was, it's impossible, it's unjust, okay? Because also, you know, Italy is hosting Vatican in some way. So it was quite natural for her to say something against this decision in political communication, even if she is one of the closest allies of Donald Trump in Europe. And I would say that Donald Trump just miscalculated, okay? He was thinking that it's going to be fine, but the criticism, the answers he gets from around the world showed that religion cannot be used as he would like to use it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so interesting stuff there. Michał Kłosowski there from Catholic Voices, giving us the latest on a very interesting issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more news and commentary. Goodbye.